What if you knew the 20% of the subject areas that constituted 80% of the exam questions? What if you could learn only the high yield stuff? You see, most students know that only 20% of the topics in a subject actually constitute 80% of the exam questions. But nobody says what 20%. Here are 8 strategies for last minute studying that ensure that you cover the crucial 20% of your material that makes up 80% of the exam questions. I used the same tips myself in high school to get straight A's. Miss any of these 8 strategies and you're guaranteed to be reading unnecessary details that won't appear on the exams. If you're new here, I'm Michael Dovlo, I'm a medical doctor, and I help high school students overcome the frustration associated with learning and become more confident in their study strategy. The first 4 strategies are going to allow you to eliminate low yield materials. The first one is to analyze past questions. So you want to analyze previous exams to identify recurring question patterns and frequently tested topics. If your exam has different sections with different scorings, you want to take note of the high mark sections. So for example, you have a chemistry exams coming up. You want to take out the chemistry past question, then give yourself 20 minutes for flipping through the past questions. Now, while you are at it, you want to take a piece of paper and then write down basically any topic that you meet. If the topic repeats again, you want to give an extra tick on the paper. This gives you an idea of the frequently tested topics and also where to focus your attention during the upcoming strategies that I'm going to share with you. A second way to identify high yield areas, which to be fair, most students forget about by the time the exam does come around, is the emphasis that the teacher made during the semester or the period of study. If you're not reviewing your lecture notes to identify the topics and key concepts that your teacher highlighted as important, you're missing out on the easiest way to identify high yield materials. So pick your lecture notes and identify areas that you put an asterisk or times when your lecturer said, "Oh, this will be on your exams." And take note of the topics for which the teacher gave an assignment. This tells you the areas of the subject that the teacher thinks are important. But if you're not a religious note taker in class, which you should be, then use this next strategy instead. It's simple and effective if done right. And this is to ask for guidance from seniors and classmates. Ask that classmate of yours who frantically takes notes in class for a look at their notes. And your seniors, they are walking past questions and experiences. Ask them about the subject areas that yields the most marks and then the frequently tested topics. This gives you the benefit of analyzing past questions and teacher emphasis with minimal effort. Before I give you the fourth tip to identify the vital 20%, imagine this. You are fishing at noon. You are standing with a fishing rod in your hand. You start casting again and again. You try different angles, different techniques. Your feet start hurting. You move to different spots but don't feel any pull on the strings. You think maybe there's no fish, but just a short distance away, there's a marked area where fish gathers in numbers. You don't know that because you never looked at the map of the lake. Studying without a syllabus is exactly like this. So consult the syllabus. It is the map. It shows you where the fish is, the core topics, the learning objectives, what the teacher actually wants you to know. Without it, you don't fail because you didn't try, you failed because you were fishing hard in the wrong water. If you've used these 4 strategies I just gave you, you should have a list of high yield topics. But here's the problem. Not all high yield topics are equal. Some gives you lots of marks for very little effort, while others give you marks only after you spend hours reading. And when time is limited, choosing wrong here is the difference between going to that exam feeling confident and running out of time in preparation and hoping that a high yield topic you just missed does not come up in the exams. That's why you need a strategy table. You want to group the topics in your syllabus into 4 categories: high marks, low effort, high marks, high effort, low marks, low effort, and low marks, high effort. You should invest your limited time on the topics in the first 2 categories. This is like a divide and conquer table and it gives you the highest return on your time investment. But how do you deal with the topics in the bottom two categories? I mean, they could still show up on the exams, right? That's when you use the bare minimums. When you're severely pressed for time and still have unfinished chapters, don't skip them entirely. Instead, try to do the bare minimum. Make sure to identify the basic formulae, the core definitions and principles. If there's a key diagram in the chapter, have a look at it. This ensures that you secure easy points or at least partial credits without fully mastering the topic. These 6 strategies will ensure that you're reading the vital 20% that will appear on your exams. But this is where most students get it wrong. They finally pick the right topics, but then study them at the wrong time using the wrong methods. You see, the 80-20 principle doesn't just apply to what you study, it also applies to when you study and how you study it. Get this too wrong, and even high-yield topics won't save you. Use the 20% study time. You want to make the most of your peak focus times. Identify when you are most productive. Is it in the mornings or late evenings? These are the 20% of your study time that accounts for 80% of the things you remember. Schedule those high mark, high effort topics during these times, and then the low effort ones for when your energy is lower. Irrespective of the time you are studying, you want to use the study techniques that have been proven to produce maximum recall. These are the 20% study techniques. Now, I go over these study techniques in details in another video. I'll make sure to drop a link in the description. However, you want to be using active recall and retrieval practice. This means you want to be testing yourself on the material as you study. So, take a sheet of paper and write out everything you can remember, or explain it back to yourself as simply as possible. This is very crucial for exams that require written answers. However, if you're preparing for a multiple choice exams, it's more than just what you read. You need proven tactics to be able to answer any multiple choice question, even with partial knowledge. I go into details in this video. Check it out and don't forget to subscribe.